You're still alive? It would have been better if you hadn't woken up. After losing consciousness during a 36-hour labor and hovering between life and death for several days, I woke up to hear my husband's cold voice on the phone. My precious newborn daughter wasn't in the hospital. The nurse said my husband took her.
Hey, where's the baby? Where did you take her?
I desperately asked my husband over the phone, panic rising in my voice. To my disbelief, my husband replied, "I'm not giving the child back. You're useless now that you've given birth. Just go die already." He hung up with a mocking laugh. I stared in shock at the phone, the sound of the disconnected call echoing in my ears. His words, calling me useless, replayed in my head. He took my daughter and abandoned me. Despair and anger boiled up inside me. I swore I would never forgive him. I clenched my fists tightly and headed to a certain place. They won't be laughing for long. Aaron doesn't know yet. My actions are about to bring a shocking turn of events. My name is Camila Odom. I'm a 33-year-old part-time employee. I met Aaron, my husband, when he was a customer at the cafe where I worked. We hit it off quickly due to his friendly and entertaining personality. With his strong advances, we got married a year and a half after meeting. Our married life was fun and happy. But there was one concern. We couldn't have children. Though I believed it wasn't something to rush, the longer it took, the harder it became emotionally. We tried everything, but nothing worked. After a long struggle, we considered medical options. Then, a miracle happened. I got pregnant.
Thank you, Camila. We finally get to meet our child. This is the happiest news ever. Let me know if you need anything, I'll support you.
Aaron was overjoyed when we found out I was pregnant with our first child. His excitement was so infectious that I couldn't help but smile as he ran around the house, basking in his joy. "Are you okay? I'll carry all the bags. Do you feel sick? Need a break?"
I'm fine. Aaron, you're such a warrior. Thank you.
Since learning about the pregnancy, Aaron had been incredibly supportive, helping with household chores despite his busy work schedule. He accompanied me to the hospital and eagerly awaited the baby's arrival, warming my heart. Though I was scared about the first childbirth, the anticipation of expanding our family and meeting our child overshadowed my fears. And then, the day of delivery arrived. Despite my anticipation, childbirth was brutal for me. The long hours of labor. On top of that, being petite made my birth canal narrow, resulting in a prolonged and difficult delivery. After enduring 36 hours, my daughter was born safely, but I was weakened and began hemorrhaging heavily. As my daughter's cries filled the room, I heard the frantic voices of nurses from a distance before losing consciousness. The next time I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. Apparently, I had been hovering between life and death for several days after passing out. Right after regaining consciousness, I could barely get out of bed and had to stay in the hospital for observation and treatment for a while. My daughter was scheduled to be discharged earlier than me due to my extended hospital stay. On the day of her discharge, I waited for my husband, Aaron, to pick her up. Since I would be hospitalized for a while, we needed to discuss many things, including taking care of our daughter. Given his busy work schedule, it would be tough for him to handle childcare all of a sudden, but there was no other choice. I had to rely on him until I was discharged. However, no matter how long I waited, Aaron didn't come. Worse, he didn't even respond to my messages. Even if he was busy with work, he could at least send a brief reply. I wondered if he was already here, engrossed in our daughter, so I dragged my exhausted body to the nursery. The nursery had a large window, allowing a view of the newborns born around the same time. I desperately searched for my daughter among the rows of cribs with name tags. After thoroughly searching, my blood ran cold. My daughter was not there. There wasn't even a crib with my name on it. Worried that she might have been moved to another room due to some issue, I asked a passing nurse about her whereabouts.
Excuse me, where's my daughter? She was supposed to be discharged today. Are you talking about Odom's child? Your husband told us he had your consent, so we handed your daughter over to him.
I was stunned by what I heard. Aaron took her? He never mentioned anything about it. I didn't even know he had come to the hospital. Rushing back to my room, I still found no messages from him. Why did he take her without telling me? Worried about my daughter's condition, I repeatedly tried to contact him, but he never answered. Reluctantly, I left a voicemail asking him to call back as soon as he heard the message. Could he be too busy with work and childcare to contact me? Facing the unfamiliar task of parenting, Aaron must be overwhelmed. I tried to calm my anxiety, but an uneasy feeling lingered. For now, all I could do was wait for Aaron to contact me. I believed he would come to visit once things settled down. But days passed, and Aaron never showed up. Finally, the day of my discharge arrived. I quickly gathered my things and rushed back to the apartment. Finally, I would get to see my child. Despite how busy he might have been, I needed to question my husband about why he hadn't contacted me at all. As I hurriedly turned the key and opened the door, an unexpected sight awaited me. The apartment was empty. All the furniture was gone, and there were no signs of anyone living there. I thought I might have entered the wrong apartment, but the key had worked, so this was definitely my home. When I spoke to a neighbor who happened to be outside, they said this apartment had recently become vacant. My jaw dropped in disbelief. Where was my husband? Where was my daughter? No matter how many times I called, I couldn't get through to him. A cold sweat ran down my back. The sound of my gulp echoed loudly. I frantically tried to figure out what to do next. If I couldn't reach Aaron, I should check with his parents. They might know something. I quickly called my mother-in-law, who answered right away.
Hello, Mom? This is Camila. Aaron has disappeared, and I can't reach him. Do you know where he might be?
Trying to stay calm, I asked her about my husband's whereabouts. I thought she might be worried since her son had vanished. But her harsh voice struck me.
Camila? How dare you call me after what you did? You have some nerve. I can't tell you where Aaron is. You're his ex-wife now. Don't contact us again.
Her angry words hit my eardrums like a hammer. Divorce? Me and Aaron? I tried to ask what she meant, but she hung up before I could say anything. I tried calling her back, but the call wouldn't even ring. It seemed she had blocked me. I had no idea what was going on. What did she mean by ex-wife? Something was terribly wrong. There was no way I was divorced from Aaron. To confirm, I went to the city office and discovered a shocking truth.
A divorce application has been filed.
Apparently, Aaron had submitted the divorce papers. The date of submission was while I was unconscious in the hospital. I couldn't believe it. I had no memory of signing any divorce papers. Naturally, Aaron had never mentioned anything about divorce. Our married life had always been happy. But why? As hard as it was to accept, it meant Aaron had divorced me and taken our daughter without my knowledge. My head pounded as I tried to make sense of his actions. But I couldn't just sit and cry. I needed to know the details and find out where my daughter was. Thinking Aaron's parents might know something, I headed straight to their house. Both in-laws greeted me, but neither looked pleased. Especially Aaron's mom, who glared at me with anger.
You again? I didn't want to see you, Camila. Didn't you hear me when I said never contact us again?
Her usually gentle eyes were now sharp and unforgiving. Undeterred, I desperately pleaded with them to listen to me.
No, please, listen. Aaron took our daughter. Daughter? You had a baby? What are you talking about?
My in-laws looked puzzled when I mentioned our daughter. I explained everything that had happened since her birth. They were shocked. They hadn't even known I was pregnant. Aaron was supposed to inform them since I was too sick with morning sickness, but they said they never heard a thing. When I showed them my maternity record as proof, they were speechless.
Camila, is this true? That you were pregnant with Aaron's child? He told us you cheated on him and that's why he left. He said you left him. That's not true. I never cheated. And our daughter is definitely Aaron's. If you doubt it, we can do a DNA test. Please, believe me. I never wanted a divorce.
My in-laws looked at me, eyes wide with surprise. Aaron had lied to them, saying I cheated and left him, instead of telling them about my pregnancy. No wonder Aaron's mom was angry with me. But Aaron had accompanied me to the hospital and seen the ultrasound with me. I told them they could verify with the hospital and do a DNA test, and they seemed to believe me.
So, where's Aaron now?
He told us he remarried and moved recently, and that they just had a baby. We haven't met them yet because his new wife had severe morning sickness.
A new wife?
I felt like I'd been hit over the head. It was shocking enough that he remarried so quickly, but to have another child too? A horrifying thought crossed my mind. Could the child be the daughter I gave birth to? Since Aaron wouldn't answer my calls, I asked his mom to call him. She did, and despite it being the same number I had dialed, he answered right away. I took the phone from her and spoke to him.
Aaron? Where are you? Where's our daughter? Is she safe? Your mom told me everything. I don't know anything about the divorce or remarriage. Explain this to me.
I heard Aaron sigh with irritation. As he responded, Camila, huh?
Calling from my parents' house, I see. You're still alive. It would have been better if you hadn't woken up.
My husband's cold insults cut through the phone. My heart froze instantly. What was Aaron saying? I never wanted to hear such words from his mouth. Trying to steady my trembling voice, I asked him again.
Wait, where's my daughter? Where did you take her? Answer me.
I desperately pleaded with him. I had to find out about my daughter. But Aaron said something unbelievable.
The child is mine. I'm not giving her back. You're useless now that you've given birth.
Just go die already. He hung up with a mocking laugh. I stared at the phone in shock as the call ended. Aaron had taken my child. He even had a new wife already. Despair overwhelmed me. But at the same time, a deep anger surged up from within. I couldn't let him get away with cheating on me while I was pregnant, divorcing me without my knowledge, and taking the child I gave birth to. Clenching my fists tightly, I devised a plan. Aaron's parents, who overheard the conversation, were furious at his behavior and agreed to help me with my plan immediately. I swore I would never forgive him. And would get my daughter back. Determined, I sprang into action. The next day, with my mother-in-law's help, we lured Aaron to his parents' house. After the call, my mother-in-law waited a bit before calling Aaron back.
I'm sorry about earlier. I was shocked because Camila suddenly showed up and demanded to talk to you. It was the right decision to divorce such a barbaric person. Oh, by the way, I want to see my grandchild's face. We haven't seen the baby yet. Bring your wife along.
Satisfied with my mother-in-law's insults towards me, Aaron, who lived nearby, readily accepted her invitation. I had asked her to badmouth me as much as possible to lure him, and she played her part perfectly, making Aaron trust her completely. I hid in a room next to the living room with some people, waiting for Aaron to arrive. Finally, the doorbell rang. Aaron and his mistress had arrived.
Excuse us. Nice to meet you, I'm Aaron's wife, Mila. I'm sorry for the late introduction.
Peeking into the living room, I saw a stylish woman who looked younger than me. Aaron was smiling, holding the baby in his arms. Thank goodness, she seemed fine for now. I suppressed the urge to rush out and snatch my daughter away. I had to be patient for now.
Look, this is our child. Her name is Jewel. Mila named her.
Smiling, Aaron showed our daughter to his parents. His hold on her was unsteady, making me nervous. I was also furious that he had named her without my consent.
Oh, she's so adorable. May I hold her?
Aaron nodded generously to his mother's request. She gently took the baby and moved away from Aaron and his mistress. Now was the time. The next moment, 5 police officers who had been waiting with me appeared in front of Aaron and Mila.
Aaron, Odom and Mila, you're under arrest for falsifying divorce documents and child abduction. What? The police? Arrest? Why?
Aaron and Mila were shocked, their jaws almost dropping. They clearly hadn't anticipated the police being there. Ignoring their reactions, the officers surrounded them and spoke coldly. Handcuffs were placed on their wrists without mercy. Both Aaron and Mila were clearly panicking at being arrested.
Stop it! Why am I being arrested too? This is unfair. What arrest? I filed the divorce papers properly. The child is mine. You can't arrest me.
They resisted and shouted. But the officers just shrugged and spoke calmly.
You two don't seem to understand what you've done. We have solid evidence. Evidence. The security cameras at the city office captured your crime.
Here's what happened. While I was unconscious, Aaron stole my ID, picked one without a photo, and gave it to Mila to impersonate me and submit the divorce papers. The cameras at the office recorded Mila pretending to be me. The date and time on the security footage matched my medical records showing I was comatose, leading to the charges of falsifying divorce documents and child abduction against Aaron and Mila. This was revealed after I reported my daughter being taken following Aaron's abusive phone call.
Aaron Odom, you married Mila without completing the proper divorce procedures. You might even be charged with bigamy.
At the officer's words, Aaron let out a silent scream. He finally realized the gravity of what he had done. Amid the chaos, I stepped out from my hiding place and faced them. Aaron, who had been cowering, glared sharply at me as soon as he saw me.
Camila, you called the police? Are you kidding me? I've been arrested, and it's your fault. You have no right to yell at me, Aaron. I'm the one who should be asking, why did you do this?
When I questioned Aaron, he clicked his tongue but, seeing the police officer's glare, he started talking, resigned. What he revealed was beyond imagination. Apparently, Aaron had been with Mila long before he met me. Both of them wanted a child, but Aaron didn't want Mila's figure ruined by pregnancy. Mila also didn't want to go through the pain of childbirth, so they targeted me, someone who was kind and had a similar build, to bear their child in her place. They planned to cut ties with me as soon as I gave birth and take the child.
So, Aaron, you married me just to take my child from the start.
It was all part of Aaron and Mila's plan. From the moment we met until now, I had been deceived. I was simply used by them.
That's right. So, Jewel is mine. Hand her over.
Aaron's words added insult to injury. Hearing the name Jewel snapped me out of my daze. No matter how calculated this was, she was still my daughter.
Don't treat my precious daughter like an object. You have no right to touch her.
I took my tiny daughter from my mother-in-law. Aaron's argument was outrageous. I couldn't understand Mila, who agreed to have someone else bear her child. I held my warm daughter gently but firmly. Then, I noticed something off. She seemed thinner than the last time I saw her. Wrapped in a swaddle and with my attention on Aaron, I hadn't noticed it right away, but she was indeed very thin. A terrible suspicion crossed my mind, and I asked Aaron.
Why is she so thin? Have you been feeding her properly?
She just wouldn't drink the milk. Aaron stammered, clearly sensing he was suspected of neglect. Seeing through his lie, I glared at him.
Answer me properly. She's your blood too, isn't she?
My shouting made both Aaron and Mila flinch. Aaron avoided my gaze, but finally, he confessed. We neglected Jewel for the past few days.
Neglected her? Unbelievable. How was I supposed to know how to take care of a baby? She cried all the time and it was annoying.
Aaron snapped in frustration. Apparently, Mila also didn't know how to care for a baby. What would they have done if something had happened to her? I didn't even want to imagine. Giving birth is not the end. It's the start of raising a child.
You two are not fit to raise a child. You don't realize how serious your crimes are. Reflect deeply on what you've done.
Aaron and Mila stayed silent, looking sullen. At this moment, my mother-in-law, who had been quietly listening, spoke up.
Taking away a child that a mother gave birth to with all her effort is just wrong. I don't ever want you two to raise a child again, but let me ask you one thing. If you didn't want to have your own child, adoption could have been an option. Why didn't you choose that? You didn't have to do something so inhumane as making someone else bear your child and then taking it.
I agreed with her internally. However, Aaron quickly shook his head.
I don't want a child that's not biologically mine. But women should stay beautiful. Considering that, this was the only way.
My mother-in-law looked completely exasperated at Aaron's answer. My father-in-law sighed, holding his head in his hands. Did we raise him wrong? Aaron's reasoning was nonsensical. He only cared about appearances.
People age, you know. Even your mistress will. Maybe it's fine now, but what will you do when she gets older? Will you throw her away like you did me?
Aaron fell silent at my question. Everyone ages, regardless of whether they have children or not. If Aaron thinks this way now, he'll likely have the same attitude in the future. What will he do when that time comes? Mila's expression suddenly changed, realizing the implication of my words, and she confronted Aaron.
Aaron, what's your answer to that?
I can't answer that. Avoiding her gaze, Aaron mumbled an apology. Infuriated by his vague response, Mila lashed out.
What do you mean you can't answer? After all those declarations of love, you were only interested in my looks? You're a piece of trash.
Shocked at the possibility of being discarded in the future, Mila cursed at Aaron. Stunned by Mila's outburst, Aaron was left speechless. That's enough. We'll continue this at the station. The police officers quickly restrained Aaron and Mila, taking them to the station. I exchanged glances with my in-laws. Finally, one turbulent chapter came to an end as my daughter was safely returned to me. Since the apartment I had lived in with Aaron was now vacated, I explained the situation to my parents and moved back home. My parents were shocked and angry at what Aaron had done, but they welcomed my daughter and me warmly. My daughter was taken to the hospital for a checkup and diagnosed with mild malnutrition, but no other serious issues. I was relieved that she was okay. Although she was fussy at first, with the help of parenting classes and my parents' support, she gradually started drinking milk properly and regained her strength. I was worried about the name issue, but it turned out Aaron hadn't filed the birth certificate yet, and he had just been calling her Jewel on his own. I named my daughter Ruby, a name I had thought about throughout my pregnancy, and submitted her birth certificate. Just looking at her peacefully sleeping face makes me feel so happy. One day, I received a letter from Aaron, who was still in custody, asking for reconciliation. When I opened it, it was filled with lines like, "I want to start over with you, Camila. I'm really sorry. Let's put everything behind us and raise our child together." It's ridiculous for him to say that now when he never intended to be a family from the start. All I could do was sigh. He was probably hoping to reconcile to avoid his punishment. There's no way I would ever reconcile after what he did to me. I decided to consult a lawyer about divorce, alimony, and getting a restraining order. Apparently, Aaron sent a similar letter to his parents, but my mother-in-law assured me over the phone, "Don't worry, Aaron will never be allowed near you and Camila again." While Aaron turned out to be a terrible husband, his parents have been incredibly supportive. I never received a letter from Mila, but according to the lawyer who met with her about the alimony, she showed no remorse at all. Why should I be arrested? I just made Camila marry Aaron and had her bear the child. She should be grateful for the time she spent with Aaron, she said arrogantly. Since she refused to acknowledge her guilt, the lawyer assured me they would pursue legal action to the fullest extent. As expected, Aaron tried to avoid paying alimony by asking for reconciliation, but his request was firmly denied. After discussing with Aaron's parents, we proceeded with the divorce. Even if Aaron resisted, his parents ensured the alimony and child support would be paid without issue. Aaron's parents have been extremely reliable. I heard that Aaron and Mila, still in custody, are being thoroughly investigated for their actions and might face prison time. Given the entire situation, they are living in fear, knowing there's a strong possibility they'll be sentenced to prison. Aaron has been sending letters to his parents, begging for help, but they are furious with him, saying, "Our grandchild's life was at risk because of your selfish actions. We won't stand as guarantors. Reflect on your actions in prison." Mila has been abandoned by her own parents and is now emotionally distressed, clinging to Aaron. Both Aaron and Mila are awaiting trial, gradually losing their spirits and enduring a tough life in custody. Every month, Aaron's parents deliver the alimony payments. They visit to see my daughter, delighting in her growth and bringing some healing to the painful memories. As for me, I'm living a peaceful life back at my parents' home, with their help during the day while I work part-time, and spending evenings with my daughter. Nowadays, I deeply feel the genuine love my parents and in-laws have for my daughter and cherish the happiness of being with her.